of your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks, or maybe even some music. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Lots of road work headed this way. A story out of Warren is warning local people to be cautious as the season of road work begins. Last year, 4,098 work zone related crashes took place in Ohio. That's when the road work was going on. That's now with 36% of that occurring when workers were present. Now there were 1,433 injuries from the work zone related crashes. 110 of them were classified as serious injuries, with 9 people being killed, according to an article by Daniel Newman, published April 20th of The Vindicator. Now, this story made it in to highlight the dangers that road crews have been facing. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, the silent story of the justice system, the local justice system. Intimidation cases are on the rise, according to an article by Ed Ryan published April 20th of The Vindicator. Now, the number of felony intimidation cases are at their highest level in over 20 years, according to some numbers. Now, this is people attempting to influence, intimidate, or hinder police officers, attorneys, or witnesses when it comes to court hearings or cases. Now, what got the story in are the silent stories that don't make headlines when people are threatened or face danger when either a jury or even a witnesses, or when they're a witness on the jury or even a witness of a crime. Now, lawyers also face life-threatening situations if they fail to win. So a lot of people these stories don't get reported, folks. This story is still developing because it's coming alive, even as some high-known people, high-level people, even the former president is on trial. That's why this story made it this week. Big headline. Story number 3. The local robotics stories keep trending, staying alive. Local robotics teams continue to stay in top headlines. This is after the Austintown Falco Tech First robotics team placed 44th out of 74 teams at the World Championship, according to a report in The Vindicator published by Bob Copeland, April 22nd. Now, what got the story in is the fact that this was a world competition, and Austintown placed 44th. Big headline. That's for story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. Why Youngstown crime remains in top headlines. Youngstown just can't seem to get over the crime hump. According to a Vindicator report published April 23rd, a Molotov cocktail was discovered at a Southside home. Gunshots were also fired at the house in the 300 block of West Earl Avenue. Now, Youngstown remains in top headlines as the city continues to get a grip on crime. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. The emergency stories are staying, the emergency story EMT workers are staying as top headlines. JT Whitehouse has a piece in The Vindicator out of Canfield on how district representatives oppose a Boardman merger with the city's fire district. Now, the piece is filled with different opinions on the proposed merger. That's making this a top story, folks. This story is still developing because there's some complaints, some pros and cons. Big headline. Story number 6: Boardman's spending in top headlines. Russell Brickey has a piece in The Vindicator published April 23rd explaining how Boardman will spend $1.3 million on 3 departments. The article goes on to explain how Fire Chief Mark Pitzer requested $297,816 for a new 2023 Asajj Ford. Now, this is a F550 ambulance. This is big money. Now, the article goes on to say that Pitzer also requested the purchase of a cardiac monitor at a price of $21,581, a mobile radio system at a price of $16,220, and a design and graphics for the new ambulance at a price of $10,625. This is all according to the article. The question is all this stuff needed? The article goes on to mention other spending plans as well. Now, this is all while plans to merge emergency crews with Canfield have remained in top headlines, thus making this a top story because people are concerned about spending these days, folks. This story has made it in for that simple fact. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week with the passion, desire, and the feelings to fulfill the need to keep people informed, all handcrafted, read thoroughly by me, the Mediator, Brian West. Story number 7. 50 nonprofits to receive grants. The Community Foundation of the Mahoning Valley has made headlines in a piece by Shane Barron, published April 20th. Now, the organization and other supporting organizations, according to the piece, has awarded more than $706,000 in grants to 50 area nonprofit organizations in what the piece calls this year's first round of funding. Now, the article continues on to mention which organizations will receive funding. And no, I was not on that list. Big headlines. So story number 7 made it. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. This is what you need. Vitamin news, baby. Vitamin information is good for you. You may not like it. You may not want it. You may not want to hear it, but it'll keep you informed. Story number 8. You'll step up in a party and you will know what's going on. You will have the program, and you will know when to ask questions and when not to shout at people. Story number 8. The Vienna Township story is staying in top headlines. Speaking of being informed, Vienna is now bracing for physical emergency after trustees laid off 3 firefighters and 3 police officers, according to a piece by Bob Copeland, April 23rd, in the Vindicator. Now, the piece goes on to explain how Police Chief Bob Lutt had to resign. He's resigned. That's basically what the article says. Now, the township is facing $1.3 million in unpaid bills, with many township officials who were working without pay, and now they're probably not working at all. Now, at the moment, the township is seeking a tax anticipation loan of $250,000 to help cover expenses. This piece goes on to explain that the current confusion and rage within the township between residents and officials surrounding this entire situation. Vienna is home to the Youngstown Regional Airport. If you did not know, this story is still developing. Maybe this week because we're talking money and money misspent, and this is not good. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
I'm going to schedule you back in about a week, alright? Put you on 10 milligrams. If you need any refills, you got to let me know, alright?
I didn't become a doctor to drug people?
Give up on your dream, John. You cannot cure crazy.
He's one of my patients.
No, patience! Well, tell him to stop coming here and robbing me!
Are you married? I see your ring.
Yeah. But all I know is I need you and you will need me.
Why don't you have your wedding photos up?
Well, I have my reasons for that.
No! You don't know anything about my patients, Kathy. You don't know anything about what these kids, these parents are going through out here. There's a jail out here, Kathy. So stay in your lane.
I don't have a chemical imbalance. I just want to go home.
Together, we can make magic.
Please don't leave me this way!
I'll need therapy after this. Who gonna check and see if I'm okay?
Hey, Doc. Don't let me down. Because those meds, they're working.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, you know, it's getting rough out here. And the other day I had ran out of money. At least I didn't have any money on me. And my dad, he's older, as my mom would say. And he always goes to the food bank. He goes to the food bank to purchase, not to purchase, but to get food that people donate to the food bank. And he always drops off these bags of food to me, my mom, and you know, being well fed, I often shut down on this, and I get like, well, I don't need it. Well, the other day I got hungry, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna try some of this food bank food, because I didn't have the money to go to the store. I just said, forget it, I'm just going. And I had me a full course meal from the food bank that my dad had brought over. He gave to me, and I had some soup, and I'm not gonna lie, the soup was fulfilling, and I felt pretty good. I ate it, and I felt great after I ate it. I think a lot of people should try to live like that every once in a while, you know, especially if you think you got it bad, and you go out to the food bank and fellowship, meet some people, hang out, and eat some soup at the soup kitchen. You know, even if you're not poor, just go there and hang out, find out some interesting stories. Yeah, it's interesting stories. You see people out on the street, and then when they ask you to borrow more, you say, I ain't got no money. Can I borrow your sign? You know, that's the story this week, because I had some soup at the food kitchen. Even made a song about it. My daddy brought me some chicken from the food bank. I made me a full course meal, oh yeah. And I looked at my daddy, and I said, where is the money that you owe me for cutting the grass last week? You still owe me some money. And he said, I paid for it with the food from the food bank. I said, oh, hell no. I want what's owed to me. Let's wait no time, folks. My daddy ain't got no money left. Be trying to pay with food bank food. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Basic income is back in the news. Business Insider has a story out of Houston explaining how basic income could help Houston residents afford rent and groceries. Now, the program faces a shutdown after Texas Attorney General labeled it unconstitutional. Now, according to the piece, the program offers 18 monthly payments of $500 to low-income families for housing and groceries. Speaking of food banks, maybe make a deal with the food banks. Now, the article goes on to explain how 1,928 eligible families out of 82,500 applicants were accepted. Now, the article then continues on by explaining how the Texas Supreme Court has issued an administrative stay on the program, and then they later ruled it to be unconstitutional and will be temporarily blocked. It's called the Uplift Harris program. They will be temporarily blocked from distributing payments until the court deliberates further. How crazy is that? Now, as Texans who were depending on this program to help them, they are now scrambling to find answers to their financial struggles. Some people had already started getting prepared to get this assistance. Now, it is unclear when the state Supreme Court will issue a ruling. Folks, this story made in to highlight the continued financial issues that many Americans are facing. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Big headline. Story number 2. What works at the border? The Texas Tribune says that migrant apprehensions are down at the Texas border, citing how state policies have made an impact. And what got the story in is the fact that Texas has spent $11 billion on border security. The article goes on to emphasize some important stats when explaining the border struggles. Folks, the story is still developing. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Calm and collective this week, folks. The protesters are back and ready for another fight. America's colleges are on high alert due to continued protests against the Israel-Palestinian war, Gaza, Hamas. Now, the Washington Post has a piece explaining how dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested at Yale and a few other colleges mentioned in the report. Now, this all resulted in canceled classes, police arrests, and a number of other demonstrations on campuses across the country. Now, the piece goes on to explain how students are living in tents and disrupting university university events, all to draw attention to the chaos brought on by the war between Israel and Hamas. Now, this story is still developing in the midst of an already still chaotic education and financial battle in America. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. The homelessness story is still in the headlines. Bloomberg Law explains how the Supreme Court plans to tackle homelessness in the case of Grant Pass versus Johnson. Now, this case asks the question on whether ordinances fining people for sleeping in public places using blankets or other bedding to stay on the street violates the 8th Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. Now, this story made it in the midst of a continued struggle to make the cost of living and housing affordable. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Is it possible for one to see hate? Is it possible for one to see two worlds? Is hate the opposite of love?
I will do whatever it takes to fall in love.
You're about to experience something real magical. Magic.
At this moment, Nana, you have a choice that I no longer have.
That's impossible.
Oh no, she did it. If she hadn't, the sun wouldn't have come out. Then she wants to make the nose crazy.
Well, hurry it up. You know rush hour comes in the afternoon.
Alana, I do worry about you.
Haven't you noticed how dark it is around here lately?
Tune in to Method A's YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit method8inc.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Method8inc.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, I was coming across some news, and they keep giving all this aid to Ukraine and Israel. And You know, it made me think about some normal life situations when people ask you for money, and it's hard to say no. You know, people are desperate. Brian, I need about $5. And you just like, wait a minute now. I got to put gas in my car. And it reminds me of when I was I'd helped one of the kids. He had some problem with his mom. He came and lived with me for a while. And he was on his last dollar. Now, you got to think I brung him in, spent my last dime on him. And I said, brother, can I borrow $1? And he wouldn't give it to me. Hell no, Brian, you ain't getting none of my money. I thought to myself, now here I am sacrificing all I got to raise, get somebody to the finish line. They won't even give me $1. So you got to ask yourself that question when we making all these deals across the globe. We spending all this money. People in America ain't got, people out on the street can't afford nothing. When do you just say no? The thing is about it, is it to a point to where you just can't say no? You know, if you say no, the whole world collapses. And that's what's sad. You know, we've got to the point where people ask us, hey, Joe, can we borrow about 50,000 bombs? And America can't say no. Taxpayers struggling. People like, man, I got to feed my family. And they just giving all the money. Countries that got willing, able-bodied people walking around, trying to cross the border. I guess that's the new thing called political pimping. Giving them bombs. I need a bomb. We got terrorists in the neighborhood, folks. Makes no sense. And it's going to keep going on until we ain't got nothing left. Until nobody left to fight. Nothing left to give. And they going to be imprisoning us with the same bombs we gave them. Paying the money that we gave them to pay our bills. How about that? Well, that's our story for this week. How do you say no, folks? Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. The healthcare industry is on life alert. Speaking of how do you say no, medical bills are high, and now nursing homes are in top stories. KFF Health News says that the Biden administration will set higher staffing mandates in which most nursing homes don't meet. Now, the entire article is extensive, stating that the Biden administration will finalize nursing home staffing rules requiring thousands of them to hire more nurses and aides and giving them years to do so. Now, this is all according to the piece. Now, the piece notes that these are the most extensive changes to federal oversight rules at roughly 15,000 nursing homes in more than 3 decades. Now, the article written by Jordan Rue on April 22nd, I guess it does mention the quality of care. I think it's Jordan Rayu, but it does mention the quality of care as a factor that could result in a plethora of healthcare mistakes. So they're saying that if you hire all these people without them even doing the job, just giving them a job, it could result in some mistakes. Now, how nursing homes will be able to meet the payroll was also mentioned as a factor in the report. I mean, like, where will they get the money to hire more people? Now, this article, when people already can't pay the bills. Now, this article does require critical reading and analysis when attempting to get readers to comprehend how complex the healthcare business is. The biggest question is, how do you make healthcare affordable in America in the system that we already have? That's why story number 5 made it this week. And how do you get more people to help that are qualified? Big help. Story number 6. What is in the $95 billion Ukraine package? The bill signed into law by the Biden administration, Big Time Joe, will provide military aid to Ukraine and Israel. It would also replenish U.S. weapons systems and give humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza. Now, American taxpayers will be all over the story as many Americans continue to struggle and wanting to know more about what we're spending more on and if there's accountability. The story is just heating up. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 because we're talking taxpayer money that a lot of people say we do not have. You got to think there are trillions of dollars in the world economy from American banknotes, government notes. Where are these treasury notes all at? That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big head. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you to stay informed. Be a wise old chap. Don't be like the rest. know what's going on and do your best. Story number 7. The global defense budget is growing for a reason. The Guardian has a piece explaining how the global defense budget jumped to a record high of $244 billion. This is after the largest annual rise in government spending on arms is the result. The rise in government spending on arms. This is the result that has been brewing in over a decade. This is the most that's been spent in over a decade. How about that? Now, resulting in a 6.8% increase between 2022 and 2023. The article says that the U.S. government spent 9.4% more on research, development, tests, and evaluation than in 2022. Now, you got to think where this money could have went if the world didn't have so many problems. This article is filled with data and really shines the spotlight on the global war business. The major talking point in this is the cost and how it's growing, why it's growing, because people have conflicts, but it's costing a lot of money that could be put somewhere else. That's number 7. Also made to the top this week because we're talking money. Big head. Story number 8 in the top. International headline and developing news story that made it this week. How do you avoid a fight? How do you walk away? How do you say no? These are the questions we're asking this week. Can we avoid World War III? Or is it already going on? Is it already taking place? Are we itching towards it? Diplomats and activists are working overtime and many with no pay to do everything to prevent a third edition of World War III. World War. How about that? Now, this story has everything to do with current events taking shape across the world, involving all nations who have nuclear weapons. Folks, this story is still developing because I don't think this generation of too many people are groomed. Any generation is groomed and ready to go all out in combat. So the question is, how do you prevent that? Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle, navigating the news just to keep you informed in stories. If you wanted to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street and stop in the store and buy something. Show me some support. Working hard, doing everything I can to keep you informed. Well, I'll be back next week, folks, looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.